The story begins with the boring old bell ringing for school to begin. An emo-looking dude is sitting by the window doing what emo-looking boys do. Look through the windows. A girl approaches him and tries to spark a conversation, but he refuses, saying she'll start rumors. She says she doesn't care because Yuki, the emo kid, and her are childhood friends. The girl's name is Yuhi, by the way, and it's a show of how lazy the writer is to even think up a name. Or the writer just wants to show us that they'll have chemistry together later. I guess we'll find out. While they continue in small talk, everything turns dark, and a magical ring appears on the floor of the entire school, transporting him and his colleagues into another world. When Yuki sees the mark, he grins. From there on, the students find themselves in the midst of a battlefield in this strange new world. They are attacked by huge armored beings. Yuki seems confused and can't notice when one has swung a sword towards him. Yuji runs and hugs him to take the impact, but Yuki sends it flying and grabs Yuhi. They cower behind a tree while humans in armor and their opposing sides stab each other with spears, pierce themselves with swords, and spill the blood of their opponents. Everyone is shocked, but Yuki is shocked for another reason entirely. While everyone wonders what's happening, Yuki is confused about why the war has not ended sooner. While in thought, a woman comes in shining armor and a horse and asks the students what they're doing there. Yuki looks pleased to see her. She tells them to flee, and Yuki holds Yuhi's hand, and they run in the opposite direction of the war. The students, led by a lady knight and other knights, flee the battlefield, trying to make sense of the strange new world. The king thanked them for coming when their kingdom, Destinia, was in trouble. The princess tells them that a hero from 5 years prior to this event had ended the war and brought them aid. Yuki is feeling confused about the time difference between the two worlds. The princess asks the students to help him. They're confused about the whole situation, but they all agree anyway. The princess assures them they have rooms prepared and tells them to rest for the day. Yuki bumps into Yuhi in the corridor, comforting her and promising to protect his first harem from danger. I wonder if he had a harem 5 years ago. The male students practice sword skills while the female students focus on magic. Yuki notices Yuhi's talent in magic. As he tries to walk away, he bumps into the female knight, whom he knows as Elka. Elka warns him that this world is more dangerous than he realized and suggests he return to training or else he may get an ass whooping that'll leave him sore for days. But Yuki asks Elka to try him. She obliges and goes for a straight attack, only for our boy to dodge and slap her booty cheeks. But again, sexual harassment doesn't occur in anime. Elka immediately recognized that habit from Setsu, who's actually Yuki, so we'll call him Setsu from now on so that we don't get confused. Elka treats Setsu like her master, even transforming into a chair. Setsu sits on her and realizes that Elka's peculiar behavior has only escalated since their last meeting. A guy in armor appears to see the scene and asks what Elka's doing. She explains that Setsu is back, which Glein agrees to, seeing her sudden change into a familiar persona he had seen before. Setsu, Elka, and Yuhi meet Thea, who already knew he was around after sensing his magic around the place. All four have a bit of reunion and bonding before Setsu wonders about the ongoing battle. The rest notice that he's bothered, and Thea asks if it's because of the war with the demons. He nods. They also have questions for him. At the rooftop, they discuss the war and the possibility of Toma being involved in the conflict. Setsu and Toma both disappeared during their last battle 5 years ago. But if Setsu is back, Toma may be around somewhere. Glein is summoned to the king's presence, where the king declares an all-out war on the demons. Glein urges the king to be patient and understand the situation before taking action. The princess reveals that the demons started the invasion, and the summoning of new heroes simultaneously shows justice on their side. The king mocks the heroes' promise of ending the war 5 years ago and making a peace treaty, believing that God wants them to unify the world in a different way. Setsu and his friends gather at the castle walls, and Glein convinces them to fight alongside Setsu again. Setsu decides to go alone to ensure there are enough defenders for their home. Before he leaves, Setsu and his friends sneak into the castle using an invisibility spell. Meanwhile, Yuhi senses Setsu's magic. Setsu's team sneak into the castle's treasury and steals Setsu's sword, Koromaru, but their actions are noticed, and the palace goes into lockdown. Glein stalls the group, and Thea offers to help. Setsu leaves the palace with Elka, who tells him she will await his return. Yuhi finds Setsu outside the palace and asks him where he is going to stop the war. Setsu tells her that this is the second time he's been summoned to this world, and he is going alone to protect her. She buries her face into his chest and asks him to close his eyes. Blushingly, he does, and she uses the magic she's been learning to give Setsu a new haircut that makes him look less emo. She promises to get stronger so she can protect him in this world, and he flicks her head, saying if she dodges it next time, she can join him on his journey. They say their goodbyes, and Setsu sets off on his new journey. The grandfather of Ruri, the character focus, argues with a well-built man about why he wouldn't sell a brooch to him. He eventually succumbs to the man after seeing a huge sum of gold. Ruri asks her grandpa why he sold it if he knew that the pride of a smith is their attention to detail and all that, but he says there are exceptions. Fast forward a little, and the grandpa is dead. A funeral is made for him, and Ruri, at her tender age, decides to head out into the world with her grandpa's principles in mind. A few years later, Ruri is transporting a cargo through the forest at night. The horse suddenly stops. She tries to push it to keep moving up to no avail. She eventually sees a boar jump from the shadows, and the cargo and her topple over. She freaks out when she sees that her brooch almost got lost in the process, saying she may have disappointed her grandpa. When she turns and puts the brooch into a box and the box into her bag, she sees the hungry boar staring at her. She tries to convince the boar that she's bony and not tasty, and it can get money, but the boar only hears, "Dinner is served." She screams into the forest as the boar attacks her. By a stroke of luck, Setsu saves Ruri from being the boar's dinner. Ruri wants to reward Setsu with money, but Setsu refuses, stating that he was just passing by. She doesn't want to take his word for it because her granddad had warned her that there was no such thing as a free lunch, so she should settle everything with money. Well, sadly, Setsu thinks that's trash. For some reason, when Setsu offers his hand to her, she remembers the hero, the well-built guy she met arguing with her granddad then. Setsu warns her about the dangers of carrying goods without a guard. Ruri agrees, asking Setsu to be her guard until she delivers her package, which she keeps a secret. Upon arriving at the port town of Mar, Setsu is surprised at how big the place has become. Ruri explains that it was after the war ended that they blossomed to their present economic state. Ruri attempts to hire a ship to the demonic continent, but all ship captains refuse due to the ongoing war. Setsu watches from behind, even wondering what business such a little girl has with the demonic kingdom. A group of corrupt guards demand Ruri's merchant identification documents, which she does, and they spite her. We get the typical way anime corrupt guys behave. Not surprisingly, they ask for her bag, and she refuses. Setsu steps in and asks if they have a permit to inspect packages. They almost draw swords, but are saved by the gathering crowd. Meanwhile, a silhouette forms over the surface of the water. During their lunch break, Setsu asks Ruri what she planned to do since she couldn't find a ship to take her where she needed to go. Ruri replies that she would buy a ship, but Setsu points out that it would cost her a lot of money. Setsu offers to take Ruri with him to the demonic kingdom. It's his destination anyway, but she has to stay at an inn for the night. Ruri agrees to his condition, but as anyone would expect, Ruri's broke, so they have to split the cost of the inn. At the inn, Ruri finally decides to show Setsu the brooch and explain why it's important. Apparently, her grandpa was supposed to repair the brooch, but couldn't do it in time. His last assignment and lesson to Ruri was to help him deliver it to the owner. When Ruri goes away, Setsu touches the brooch and notices that it's cursed and the protection broke. He remembers a woman and hopes nothing bad has happened. While Setsu and Ruri are struggling in their sleep about who'll get the king's portion of the bed, some guards barge into the inn and accuse them of spying for the demons. Setsu escapes the room through the window with Ruri. However, their escape route leads them to a dead end by the sea, with no way out. Setsu still triggers the soldiers and takes Ruri with him, jumping into the sky. A sea monster appears from the sea, and Setsu lands on top of the monster, apologizing for summoning her suddenly. He promises to explain later and asks her to take them to the demonic kingdom. The monster obliges and swims away, leaving the guards baffled about how to report this. Ruri recognizes the monster as Leviathan, the god of the sea, and wonders who the heck she hired as a guard. Setsu and Ruri watch as Leviathan and a giant squid battle each other. After defeating it, they argue about what to do with the squid. Leviathan suggests that Setsu handles it, so he makes squid rings, which Ruri loves, though Levi prefers it raw. Setsu and Levi go on to discuss their relationship. Leviathan, angry, scolds Setsu, and they argue about his 5-year disappearance. They plan to take Ruri's package to the demonic fishing village and Disaster's castle, which surprises Ruri because Disaster is the demon lord, and they must continue on foot. Levi fumingly comments that she had promised to maintain peace on the seas, But he disappears only to appear 5 years later and treats her like a boat. A few demon kids show up while they're arguing and ask if Setsu and Leviathan are having a lover's quarrel. Setsu gives the kids squid rings and asks them to scran, but pesky little devils don't give away too easily. They ask him to make some for their parents. Leviathan mentions that there is plenty more squid available, so they take it over to the children's village. The villagers are having trouble fishing due to the squid interference, and they decide that they have no choice but to fight it. That's when Setsu comes in. He asks where he can put the squid, and the villagers are surprised to see the monster defeated. The villagers have a party, and Leviathan tells Setsu to work faster, slicing up the squid and making more rings to serve the entire village. In the village, Vlad, the head of the Demon Lord's personal guard, discovers a fire and assumes the humans are behind it, so he rushes to save them. Meanwhile, Ruri gets drunk on juice. I know I don't get it too, and asks Leviathan about her relationship with Setsu. She explains that they had battled 5 years ago. Leviathan admits that she went on a rampage and was defeated by Setsu with a single strike, leading him to become popular in Dystinia. That's when she discovers she's been with the legendary hero all along. Hooray to her. Ruri wonders why someone like him would become a guard, and if the number of accidents in the ocean dropped due to Setsu's relationship with Leviathan. Leviathan mentions that Setsu asked her to maintain peace in the ocean, and Ruri thinks that Leviathan must be in love with Setsu. Suddenly, Vlad bursts into the village, saying he'll save them, blah blah blah. He's confused since the objects of his concern only offer him squid rings. Levi is by the riverbank with Ruri, and she catches some raw fish and eats them while thinking. Vlad comes in to meet her, saying he's surprised to see her in her human form. Setsu walks into their conversation, and Vlad acknowledges him, saying he recognizes him, though he looks different. Vlad asks for Levi and Setsu's help concerning the Demon Lord. He reveals that the Demon Lord is being forced into a marriage with Terran Sneeder, who is trying to subjugate her through a curse. Setsu is surprised to learn about the war that broke out a month ago when humans invaded the demon territory. Setsu agrees to go alone, but Leviathan reminds him that she had promised to maintain peace, and they couldn't leave her alone. They both journey toward the Demon Lord's castle, using the route they used for surprise attacks on the Demon King's castle in the past. They are surrounded by a few monsters, but Leviathan assures them she will handle them. They encounter monsters on the way, and Levi easily handles them. As they continue their journey, Leviathan takes care of the monsters and shares his theory about their plan. Setsu believes that the war was orchestrated by someone, not the demons or Dystinia, and that Terran holds some answers. Levi decides that it means she doesn't need to hold back since he's neither of the parties she's trying to protect. She then handles another ambush monster attack with grace. As they keep running towards the castle, Leviathan reflects on her lack of interest in the world before meeting Setsu and her current desire for peace. She then tells Setsu that his squid rings are better than raw squid. He smiles and tells her that he'll make her more after, and we see the evil arrow, the demon castle, come into view. Disaster, or Dezes for short, the Demon Lord, believed she had lived a long life and understood the world was beyond her control. However, one day, Setsu appeared before her, suggesting an end to the war. He offered a brooch as a symbol of reconciliation and even remarked that black suited her. Then, the scene shifts to the Demon Lord learning about Setsu's disappearance. Despite extensive search efforts, they still couldn't find him, and Dystinia had no information about his whereabouts. Despite this, Dezes remains determined to honor the promise of peace she made with Setsu. Meanwhile, while walking through the market and seeing the peace that now ensues, her brooch breaks. Vlad sees her concern and tells her he knows someone good at repairs. She thanks him for it. A month later, the Demon Lord still hadn't received word from Dystinia, and she feared for the future of their nation. Vlad informs the Demon Lord that Terran Sneeder has arrived and wants to speak with her. Terran offers his assistance in swiftly ending the war, citing his company's power. The only condition is that Dezes becomes his wife, showing her the cursed necklace of servitude for their vows. She decides that she'll need time, which Terran obliges and departs. Vlad urges the Demon Lord not to consider his proposal, but she decides it's the best thing to do. While in his carriage, we discover that Terran is not alone in his plans. He is also in liaison with some other unknown team. He's in the carriage, discussing with a hooded man, and he suggests pulling back their costly magic soldiers to avoid further complications. However, the hooded man disagrees, stating that they both want different things. Terran desires the Demon Lord, while the hooded man seeks the kingdom. They agree that this arrangement aligns with their respective interests and is the will of the hooded man's master. The scene shifts to the day of Dez's, the demon lord's wedding, where the demons appear unhappy about the impending wedding. The officiating father calls for the exchange of vows. Terran declares that he and the demon lord are entering a vow of master and servant, pledging to bring eternal peace to the world. As Terran is about to make the binding contract on her, Setsu makes a badass entrance and has a quick reunion. Hooded men try to attack him, but Levi stops them with her magic. The main hooded guy traps her though, and almost attacks her. Luckily, Setsu saves her by a hair's breadth. The hooded man, they both fight, and Setsu eventually knocks him down. The hooded man realizes that Setsu is strong, and he won't be winning this fight, so he escapes by breaking through the wall and causing a camouflage of dust. Dezes embraces Setsu, expressing how she missed him and asking where he had gone. He explains that it's a long story and expresses relief that she's safe. Leviathan reminds them that the attackers are still present, and Setsu realizes they are magic soldiers created from curses. Dezes admits to suspecting Tama's involvement in the events, and she offers to assist Setsu in his mission, but she needs to hold peace in the Demon Kingdom while he goes to the Beast Men. Levi nags in the background, complaining about if she's on fairy duty again, because she ain't gonna go anywhere after having a long night of figuring. Ruri and Vlad arrive at the scene, and Setsu confirms everything went well. Ruri hands him the brooch, suggesting that he should be the one to give it to Dezes. Setsu presents the brooch to Disaster, saying it's the second time. Later, the army works to clean up the castle, and Dezes tells Setsu that she would have loved to accompany him, but recognizes that she cannot leave her throne now. Setsu promises to take her wherever she wants once they establish peace. Vlad advises against rulers leaving during times of peace, and Leviathan gives friendly support. Ruri mentions that the Demon Lord has allowed her to open a shop in the capital, which is nice. Vlad thanks Setsu for helping them, and Setsu departs with Leviathan. We're taken back to the first encounter between young Setsu and Yuhi, who initially appears scary and unfriendly. However, they get closer and gradually play, read, and have fun together. Yuhi attends a prep school and asks Setsu if they could attend the same high school together. Setsu suggests she aim for a less challenging school if attending the same one will be a pain in the ass. This offends her, but she continues attending the prep school. Her mock test scores don't show any sign that she's getting better. One day, while returning from prep school, she encounters some dudes in the park who advise her to give up if it's too difficult. They say they want to have fun with her, whatever that means, but Setsu shoos them out and tells her that he'll help her study, which brightens her mood. In the present, Yuhi is practicing magic in Destinia and improving her skills, even applauded for being exceptional. She later meets Elka and Glein to teach her privately. Elka speaks of how she admires Setsu for his ability to draw people in and expresses her deep respect for him, and that she yearns to be with him. Yuhi still requests special training because she also wants to be with Setsu. Elka leads Yuhi to the castle walls and shows her the peaceful world Setsu has created. She mentions that Setsu is currently fighting somewhere, and they are ready to assist him at a moment's notice. Yuhi expresses her desire to help Setsu, but admits that she lacks the necessary strength. She asks Elka for a mock battle to improve her abilities, and Elka agrees. Elka initiates the offensive, and Yuhi defends herself against Elka's attacks and uses her magic to counter them. They continue clashing until Elka decides to stop the battle. Elka tells Yuhi that she's grown, but she still lacks something. She takes her to the sewers to battle a crocodile monster. Yuhi defeats the monster but hesitates to kill it. Elka emphasizes that they must kill the enemy in war to protect their loved ones. Tia heals Yuhi's wounds and discusses Setsu with her. Elka expresses concerns about the dangerous foes Yuhi might face, but Tia emphasizes that the decision is Yuhi's alone. Later that day, Glein discusses Yuhi's feelings about the previous night and how he finds the determination to fight. He encourages Yuhi to find her own reason to fight. After their conversation, Glein leaves, leaving Yuhi to reflect on her learning. Yuhi's magical power significantly improves the next day, and she returns to the sewers with Elka. This time, she defeats the beast without killing it. She just used her immense fire attack to incapacitate it. Elka is impressed by Yuhi's determination, mirroring Setsu's stance. She agrees to train her further, and Yuhi is determined to become stronger to protect everyone. In the throne room, Glein informs the Otherworlders, including Yuhi, about the king's decree to leave for the Demon Kingdom the following day to protect their nation and its citizens. When they leave, Yuhi pushes towards the stairs, believing she will protect Elka, Setsu, and everyone else. Setsu and Leviathan embark on a carriage journey to reach the Beastman continent, where they must use teleportation magic to reach the port. They encounter two girls, Alize, one of Setsu's comrades, and Armel, Alize's younger sister. Setsu is intrigued by Alize's story and invites her to join them on the Beastman continent. Alize, who has been training in monster hunting jobs, accepts a quest to slay a dragon in Zathro village. In a flashback, she is offered a place to stay in Armel's house by the village chief. Alize, who is not from the village, treats Armel like her sister. Armel's own big brother has yet to return since the dragon appeared. Anytime the dragon appears, people seem to disappear. Alize expresses her desire to stay in Zathro once the dragon issue is resolved. Setsu asks Alize if Armel's brother might have been killed by the dragon. Alize doesn't think so, as several villagers go missing without a struggle or evidence. She disables the village ward against evil, thinking it would lure the dragon for a battle. Armel warns her that it is dangerous, but Alize is determined. She tells Armel to go home for safety, shows Alize a butterfly, and mentions she's good at catching them. The dragon attacks the village, and Alize confronts it, injuring it, but it escapes. Everyone in the village disappears, leaving only Alize to find her brother. So, Alize is on her way to the big city to find someone to care for Armel before she meets Levi and Setsu. Setsu and Leviathan, who are unfamiliar with the situation, offer their assistance. They discuss various theories, including zombies, sirens, space aliens, and a shape-shifting dragon that attacked the village. Setsu suggests that the dragon might be an advanced species capable of hiding among the villagers by taking a human form, like Levi. Setsu questions Leviathan's ability to make people disappear without a trace, but she insists she cannot. They get to a point and have difficulties proceeding because of the raging waters. As they figure out how to get to the city, Setsu inquires about Alize's plans to return to Zathro to gather evidence about the missing villagers. Setsu suggests that teleportation magic might have drawn the dragon, which requires a user. Alize agrees with this theory, stating that most demons have a similar sense of smell. Setsu then says his prime suspect is Armel. He reminds everyone that she appeared just around the time people began to disappear, and he reminded Armel of her comment during Leviathan's siren story about sea monsters' distinct smell. Her cover blown, Armel transforms into a dragon, and Setsu, Alize, and Leviathan engage in a battle against the dragon. Setsu and Alize fight the dragon together, causing it to slip on the wet ground. Leviathan combines her magic with Setsu's sword to attack the dragon, and Alize lands the final blow, ultimately defeating it. We then see Levi in her Leviathan form transporting Setsu to the Beastman continent. She asks him why he let Alize go alone, and he comments it's because she's his top pupil, meaning she must be able to accomplish tasks on her own. They both laugh as the island comes into view. As Alize returns to Zathro, she is surprised to see Armel alive and asks her about the missing villagers. Armel reveals that she turned them into dolls since the villagers possessed strong magic powers. She also explains that they need magic soldiers for the war, adding a bit of suspense to who they are. Unfortunately, there was never anyone named Armel from the start, so Alize asks her who she is, and Armel replies that she is Meluar, the monster master. It was Toma who gave her the name. It is a bright day in Leoport, Beastman continent, and a young lady, Shironiko-chan, is on her way back from work. She passes by the market and is given a lot of free gifts by the market people. The gifts are too much to the point that she can't accept any more. Unlike Oliver Twist, the much-loved Shironiko has had more than enough. She leaves for home and is joined by two beast kids who want her to teach them how to beat up monsters. Shironiko tells them softly that their job as kids is to play and not to fight monsters. She gets home and is welcomed back by her ailing sister Miniko, who immediately goes into another episode of whooping cough and distress. Shironiko sees this and rushes to get the medication lying on a table. She offers it to Miniko and swears that she will make her well, and that Miniko must try her best to get well too. They both hug each other and shed tears as the curtains fade on a truly emotional scene. Setsu-san and Levia are leaving Leoport and want to board a boat, but the beast man they meet says no boat is available. Setsu replies, saying they have urgent business to attend to. In a desperate bid to convince the beast man, Setsu said foolhardily that he'd ride on the beast man's back if he had to. The terrified man shouts, "I'm not a boat, just go away." Meanwhile, Levia, who had been watching silently, is disappointed and gets into an argument with Setsu. In the end, she decides to rest until the next day, and the boatman chips in that a boat will be available then. Setsu sarcastically remarks, "Oh really? Thanks, man." Levia is now too angry at the both of them and screams that they should read the room. The beast man points them to a nearby inn where they can rest until the next day. The camera zooms out. Shironiko walks into the scene and stops to assess the traveling duo for about 2 seconds before going to the inn. Inside the inn, she meets the innkeeper and thanks her for the expensive medicine she has been providing Miniko. In turn, the innkeeper praises Shironiko's hard work and determination to look after her sister. The innkeeper, Kironyu-san, apparently has another job for Shironiko and tells her that this new one might be a lot of trouble, an assassination. To make matters worse, Setsu-san is the unfortunate human she must kill, the guy she saw a few minutes ago outside the inn. Wow, what a sad twist to the story. Kironyu-san assures Shironiko-chan that she will be paid handsomely after completing the job and would never have to worry about medicine money nor work again in her lifetime. Such is the heavy burden that the job carries. The loud-talking Setsu-san and Levia walk into the inn, and Shironiko is forced to hide behind Kironyu-san to avoid being noticed. The travelers need an open room to pass the night in. Kironyu-san attends to them, forming a distraction for Shironiko to successfully sneak out unseen, and on her way out, she catches a full gaze of her soon-to-be victim. It is nighttime, and Setsu and Levia are fast asleep inside the inn, or so it seemed. Shironiko meets Kironyu-san at the back door of the inn and tells her she's made up her mind and will go ahead with the planned job. A sweet dialogue ensues, and Shironiko asks Kironyu-san if she can call her sister. She adds that after getting paid for the job, Kironyu-san Miniko, and she could live together somewhere quiet. Kironyu-san turns down the offer to live together, but tells Shironiko that she can call her whatever she wants. A visibly happy Shironiko leaves to carry out the mission while Kironyu-san chuckles and says, "Big sister, huh?" Shironiko sneaks quietly into the room where Setsu and Levia are sleeping and goes straight to the action by tearing across Setsu's bed with her long clawed fingers. Shockingly for her, it is an illusion as both beds aren't occupied. The real Setsu appears at her back and sends her flying out the window with a powerful kick. He jumps down after her and a fight starts. Shironiko uses the partial beast transformation to the dismay of Setsu. He neutralizes it and knocks her out with a powerful slap from mid-air. A reddened hand imprint is left on the unconscious Shironiko's cheeks and light fizzles out from her arms. Setsu and Levia believe she is under the influence of cursed magic. The camera turns away and we see Kironyu-san in the background, hiding behind a building before disappearing into the dark. Shironiko is awake at home after being saved by Setsu. She reconciles with him, and he tells her Miniko's ordeal is due to powerful cursed magic. A tearful and helpless Shironiko grabs Setsu's arm and begs him to save her sister. In an almost arrogant manner, our protagonist rubs her hair gently and says he'll surely save her. He summons Glutton, his secret trump card, to devour the curse. Miniko is left in a lot of discomfort. Shironiko begs her to hang on right before the action is interrupted by our villain innkeeper, Kironyu-san, who fires a short spear in Setsu's direction. Shironiko jumps in time and gets hit by the spear in a typical "I'll die for you" hero fashion. Setsu is stunned and angry at Kironyu, but cannot stop saving Miniko halfway. Kironyu-san thinks she has won and boasts about taking Setsu into custody when she is hit suddenly by a strong wave of water from Levia, the self-acclaimed god of the sea. The overconfident Kironyu is obviously annoyed by it, and a fighting scene commences with Levia wielding her water magic to come out on top. Covered in shame and dust, Kironyu refuses to mention who sent her. The injured Shironiko comes into the picture and asks big sister Kironyu why she attacked them. Kironyu taunts her and is disappointed in Shironiko's failure to execute the simple assassination order. To answer Levia's question, she said that Toma-sama wants to become a god before cunningly wielding her magic and disappearing into thin air. In a happy turn of events, Miniko is freed from the cursed magic. Setsu-sen says the necklace Miniko had on was the same as Dez's, and that he'll have to stop Toma from causing further damage. Miniko hugs her sister in a joyful, tear-filled manner as the sun rises. In the next scene, Setsu and Levia are aboard a boat leaving Beastland when they are surprisingly flagged down by Miniko and Shironiko, who want to travel with them. Setsu agrees to their offer, and the episode ends with him saying confidently, "Just you wait, Toma." We see shining rays of light, and it is a past memory from the look of things. The location is Rigdom, where a sword fight is ongoing between Setsu and another girl. She's Roa, the daughter of the Beast King of Rigdom. Back to the present, 4 beast men are engrossed in a heavy argument inside the palace. Regulus appears to be meditating and unperturbed by their noise. He is, however, moved by something and makes an ear sign to his daughter, Roa, seated a few distances from him. She makes a happy gesture and dashes off into space. Outside the palace, Setsu and his female crew are having difficulty convincing the guards to let them in. Setsu mutters a few words and hears a crashing sound afterwards. He opens his eyes, and well, it is the little beast devil, Roa, tumbling from the sky above and crashing on everybody present. Even the stubborn guards aren't spared. She is happy to see Setsu, perhaps too happy, and hugs him dearly. You can tell she has had a long time crush on him. She tries to pull a fast one with her magic claws, but Setsu reads it and skillfully thwarts her. Shironiko is surprised to know the playful girl is the Beast King's daughter. Together with Miniko, they are jealous of Roa's infectious show of love for Setsu. As the popular saying goes, like father, like daughter, King Regulus recreates Roa's weird crashing scene on Setsu to the amazement of all present. He is happy to see Setsu still as strong as before, and then sniffs around to confirm his scent and presence. And yes, these weird people are Setsu's longtime friends. Setsu discusses with Regulus and notifies him of the impending doom that lies with the return of Toma to this world. Regulus has almost agreed to allow Roa to travel with Setsu when a loud voice says, "Please wait, my king." It is the voice of Rauga, commander of Regulus' Zu-Dorado army and fiancé of Roa-san, who proceeds to convince the king that it is unwise to spare manpower for other nations in a time of war. Regulus sees reason with him, and a duel is proposed between Rauga and Setsu where the winner gets to marry Roa. Well, that'll definitely hurt. The girl's feelings or opinion weren't even considered. Setsu isn't too impressed with the marriage proposal, but agrees to the duel anyway. The battle for the right to marry Roa is officiated by Regulus. It starts on a good note for Setsu, who is quicker and more skillful than Rauga. He doesn't need to hit the second gear before beating Rauga, even after he transforms into a large beast. The sisters are impressed with Setsu's fighting prowess. Livia doesn't bulge from her seat, and Roa is so love-struck that she openly professes her love for our protagonist. Setsu thinks he's won already, but Beast Rauga gets back to his feet, overtaken by Toma's cursed magic through the magic rune on his arm. He violently attacks Setsu, and on seeing the transformative change, the audience is evacuated from the arena by Regulus. Roa offers to end the beast, but Setsu declines, saying he doesn't want Rauga to die as he is only temporarily cursed. Setsu is about to summon Glutton when everything turns gray, and a familiar voice starts speaking. What happened next is a tragedy that is totally uncalled for. The head of Beast Rauga evaporates, and from within the blue vapor appears Toma, who goes on and on about Setsu not fulfilling his promise of protection. Toma calls humans, demons, and beasts unnecessary stuff, and promises to kill them all just to live a quiet life with Setsu as gods. Wow, such an evil notion. The disturbing scene ends with Toma saying he will finally win Setsu over while fading into the blue air. Immediately afterwards, the decapitated body of Rauga falls to the ground with a heavy thud. Regulus tries to blame himself for the tragic duel, but is rebuffed by Setsu, who decides to head over to the demonic continent to stop Toma. He finds Roa in the fight arena, standing beside Rauga's pool of blood. He asks if she's okay, and she answers, "I am." He scratches his head in a confused manner, and Roa reminds him that they have things to take care of. The episode ends with them leaving the arena on the way to the demon continent. We journey back to the past 10 years ago, as the producers have decided to bless our screen with the full backstory of Setsu and Toma. Our future protagonist and antagonist are magically summoned by the people of Distinia to save their nation from war. Setsu and Toma are not happy, and Setsu especially shows his displeasure for being brought to another realm to fight their battle for them, a battle he knows nothing about. We see the budding friendship between the two heroes and realize they were summoned from the same hometown. Setsu trains hard to be strong enough for the war. Toma, on the other hand, isn't strong enough, and Setsu assures him that he will always protect him. Later on, we see Setsu about to leave to see the outside world, but Toma is scared and tells Setsu that he will train hard and get strong enough to stop the war. They bump fists like real brothers and promise to meet each other again when they finally become heroes. Little did Setsu know that Toma was obsessed with him. This is clearly visualized in the scene over the bridge when Setsu leaves. Toma, who is saddened by it, stands under the drizzling rain and mutters, "That's a promise, Setsu." And he meant every word that he said. Some months later, Toma has trained hard and is now a knight. Still, he remembers his promise with Setsu. Toma led his soldiers to war, and they conquered their enemies easily. While inside a temple, he kills the last of the enemies and spills their blood. He is about to leave when he steps on a pool of blood. A circle of light forms around him immediately, and a voice starts speaking. Toma turns back to see from where it came, and instead sees a huge statue holding a strange evil-like necklace pendant. The pendant emits a negative blue, purple-like energy, and the voice tells Toma that it will grant his true desires and give him power and destiny. The voice manipulates and possesses Toma by telling him to grasp the pendant stone, which he does. A truce is called, and delegates are sent to sign a peace treaty. Toma and his soldiers are entrusted with protecting the lives of the delegates. At the peace treaty ceremony, Toma sees Setsu, who is also a delegate and is celebrated as the war hero. They meet at a balcony outside the ceremony, and Toma praises Setsu for ending the war. Setsu tries to be humble by saying he did nothing special and praises Toma for being very important now too. Setsu's friends call him out to return to the party. Setsu is already leaving when Toma reminds him about their promise to one another. He tells Setsu that they should return to their original world together now that the war is over. Setsu doesn't want to return, and it makes Toma heartbroken. He is overcome by the evil magic from the temple and goes on a rampage, attacking Setsu. It doesn't go well, as they both end up injuring one another. Afterwards, a disappointed Toma returns to the temple, where he is left to rue his losses. He drops the pendant and is sent into a trance by it. After that, he knows what must be done and embarks on a mission to save the tortured prisoners he sees in the vision. He saves the prisoners and enlists them in his army of world destroyers, and yes, Kuronyu-san is one of the prisoners too. If someone promises to always protect me, but then leaves me out in the cold, I'll be heartbroken too. But resorting to global violence to get that person to acknowledge you is utter madness. Ships containing human soldiers land on the demon continent's shore, and straight away, the soldiers go to war against the demonic nation. A team of Glein, Elka, Yuhi, Ruri, Hanabashira, Thea, and other friends of Setsu are part of the human army, and they alone know who the real enemy is. The villainous Toma, whose evil power they sensed while aboard one of the ships. The team devised a useful strategy to strike the enemy with. The fighting scene is somewhat lackluster and doesn't reach the cinematic climax you'd expect at this point in the movie. Setsu's friends task themselves before joining the action fully. They utilize their powers well to subdue the demon soldiers, but Hanabashira is too scared to fight and is saved from certain death by Yuhi. This show has a penchant for dishing out strange voices every time. We hear another one here. It taunts the warriors, and suddenly, huge robot-like warriors appear from the sky. Hanabashira has a flashback and remembers where she has seen them before. Suddenly, a swordswoman with elf ears rises from underground and wastes no time killing the human soldiers as they are no match for her. The incessant violence ceases for a short while, and our on-screen heroes wonder who the mysterious swordswoman from underground is. The shock on their faces when she opens her eyes is obvious for all to see. It is Alize, and she is with company. A strange woman in a black cloak who is some sort of puppeteer and has Alize under her hypnosis. She jokes annoyingly about turning Glein and the others into puppets so they can stay together and form a puppet party. Having heard enough, Elka springs up to attack the woman in a cloak. The woman summons marionette magic and commands Alize to fight her battle. Elka tries to no avail to convince Alize that she is a friend and not a foe. Our heroes realize that the woman in a black cloak is Mueller after she cuts herself and uses the blood as concentrated magic power to make 4 huge monsters. The team defeats the monsters without breaking much of a sweat, and everybody is involved somehow. Mueller is left very angry and sends Alize to kill them all. That ends badly for her as Alize couldn't beat the first opponent, Glein. Elka responds by engaging Mueller in a sword and dagger fight close to the river. She disarms Mueller and pierces her magic organ, leaving her to die alone in the water. Mueller doesn't die and stands up again for Toma-sama. She was one of the people Toma freed from prison. Her body is now modified due to the various experiments she had to endure in the lab prison, leaving her with an extra lung, heart, and magic organ. I'm totally convinced that she's a freak. Due to her painful ordeal and eventual rescue by Toma, Mueller believes she is indebted to him and must destroy the world, no matter what. And that prompts her to use limit break magic to summon her chimera. But before she can wreak full havoc with the 3-headed beast, a rejuvenated Alize snuck in and stabs her from behind. Mula's dying moment is beautified by a past memory of her and Alizy in Drasthro village. Alizy loses consciousness and is left to rest and heal by the team. They talk about taking a much-needed break from all the violence when another enemy in a black robe breaks from underground in a volcano-like fashion. It is the scary-looking guy with an ugly scar on his face. Yuhi steps forward to engage him in a fight. The other warriors don't agree at first, but as they are too exhausted from fighting all day, and also because Yuhi thinks Yuki would do the same if he were in her shoes, they have to step back and provide backup for her. It doesn't look like it'd end well for Yuhi against the scary man. A rush of wind blows, and everybody looks up. It is the people's hero flying down from the sky to save the day. Yuhi is overjoyed to see her Yuki-kun again, and loses her sense of reasoning for a minute. She bumps into him and acts like a naughty girl. You are probably right if you think she's under a love spell. She goes on and on about her training with Master Elka, and seems to have forgotten about the scary-looking guy in front of them. Setsu remembers him as the hooded guy at Dez's place. Our villain is clearly disgusted by Setsu's love for weaklings as they go into fighting action. On another front, the Beast Sisters, Mineko and Shiraniko, are face to face with Big Sister Kuroinu. They never learned these two. They tell her she isn't a bad person and offer her a second chance. Kuroinu in turn fires her samurai-like blades, and the sisters realize they are left with no choice but to fight. They work together, and Mineko sinks Kuroinu in a pit with a powerful knee strike. You'd have surely noticed that the villains keep getting back up to use limit breaks. It is no different here as Kuroinu transforms into half-woman, half-beast and attacks the sisters again. She wraps Mineko in a chokehold, and Shiraniko, sensing the danger, use a running maneuver to connect with her sister and use their secret power, Beast Merge, to free her from Kuroinu's hold and cut off all her beast arms. She gets back up again after having a flashback of 3 happy little beast girls, but is no match for the sisters who inflict mortal wounds on her. In her dying moments, she is asked by Shiraniko if she has sisters too, and she replies, "Who knows?" as a sad song plays in the background. Roa battles Verdos, a Joker-esque villain with a muscular build and donning a funny-looking costume that exposes his butt cheeks. He talks too much and vexes Roa by mentioning Rauga's name. She attacks him with a kick, but ends up injuring herself as his entire body is made of iron. Roa goes full beast mode on him, and Verdos continues pulling tricks out of his bag. Despite her best efforts, Roa is mortally wounded by Verdos, and she succumbs to her injuries. However, in an unexpected turn of events, he felt pity for her and revived her. She's confused at the gesture and asks why he is working with Toma. He responded, saying who else would care for a freak like him. He wanted her to live. In that touching moment, Roa swore to carry his pride with her. Setsu and the scary-looking man continue intense fighting. There seems to be no outright winner, and the scary guy takes it personally. He uses the Limit Break curse to summon his true power, Skia Amur. Setsu is shaken by the rush of wind accompanying it, but our favorite hero isn't one to back down from a fight. He summons his flying sword, Zetsu, and slashes right through the ugly guy's armor and sword. Out of desperation and facing inevitable defeat, the ugly guy makes a foolish attempt at winning, but Setsu gets rid of him easily. Toma's minions have all been defeated, and he realizes that the time has come to face Setsu one-on-one in an epic finale. The final showdown between Setsu and Toma proved to be one for the ages and worth all the wait and suspense. Levia runs into a building and finds Dez's inside safe and sound. Toma ambushes them and looks to put an end to their defiance, but not before Setsu the hero arrives in time to save the day. Now how many times has that happened in this series? Countless times. Setsu has no time for dilly-dallying and goes straight into attack mode with his sword, Koromaru. Toma is a worthy opponent and improvises at one point in the fight by converting his sword into a lightning spear that he sends in Setsu's direction. Setsu blocks it and directs the lightning towards the sky, and a stunned Levia is amazed at the cracks the lightning makes in the sky. It's crazy because that was just the warm-up to the fight. You know when they say, the tip of the iceberg, this is a perfect example. Toma starts the fight proper with his strength in numbers power. Setsu responds by using his flying sword. Toma goes behind him and summons his own flying sword Zetsu, which is repelled unimpressively by Setsu and leaves him bleeding on the right arm. After getting disarmed and outpunched by Setsu, our main antagonist ups the pace and turns his sacred sword into a shooting weapon. Form change. Setsu sees an opening and speedily kicks Toma into the clouds, where the epic battle continues. Thanks to his shooting machine, Toma has the upper hand, and Setsu has to summon his sacred sword, Glutton, to devour the bullets. Yuhi shouts the name Yuki, and Setsu looks downwards from the sky to see all his friends alive. He tells Toma to call it quits since all his minions are dead already. Toma remembers Setsu's betrayal and is consumed by rage, with his pupils fully dilated and reddened. A powerful beam of magic surrounds him as he unlocks the Limit Break curse and spirals out of control. Setsu's friends are astonished and wonder how Setsu will be able to fight the cursed magic that Toma has fortified himself with. Toma fires a wave of purple magic at Setsu, who devours it with Glutton. He then turns his attention to Setsu's friends, but before he can do anything, the hero of the day hits him with a lightning spark and a combination of flying sword and rapid fire that shatters the Limit Break armor and sends Toma crashing below. A weakened Toma has flashbacks of all the good times with Setsu and is enraged more, forming a missile-like weapon that he blasts Setsu with. Setsu falls to the ground, and Toma cannot believe he has just defeated his greatest rival. Setsu shocks him by getting back to his feet and using dimensional magic to conjure Earth Eater, which he uses to put Toma away for good. Snow starts falling, and our merciful hero doesn't kill Toma as it was never his goal. He only wanted to take away the curse cast on him. Toma is driven to tears as he believes he's unworthy of the compassion shown to him. The other warriors decide what to do with Toma, and the punishment is to use all his magic power to create a portal that will send him and Setsu's classmates back to their world. Wow, sounds more like community service to me. Toma opens the portal but stays back. He decides to start atonement for his sins in this current world and go on a trip to see new places. The scene closes after he bumps fists with Setsu like old times and departs to go on his way.